It was noontime today in the center of Beijing when a man walked to the middle of the Avenue of Eternal Peace.
Hello, Rye. Welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast with Kevin and Chuck. Today, well, we're going to talk about underground bunkers and the apocalypse. I actually visited one, and we have some cool stories. So the thing is, I don't know, preppers and bunkers seem to go hand in hand. There's a lot of threats, nuclear disaster, there's hurricanes, there's tornadoes, there's a lot of things. Believe it or not, even earthquakes. Underground is not necessarily the worst thing. The ground, the layers, different, absorb a little bit, but we'll talk about it. We'll get into it. I'm not saying go underground for an earthquake. I'm just saying there are some, it's not as horrible as you think. So, anyway, there's a lot of different threats out there and things that you might want to, be a little protected from, have some real shelter. There's that show Doomsday Preppers. They have a lot of people who build bunkers, and there's all types of bunkers.
Let's talk about some of the types of bunkers.
All right.
All right. We'll go through some of the basic ones. Trench bunkers. I think we're all kind of familiar with that sort of stuff. That's like World War One. That's getting down below the ground level, trying to keep from getting hit by bullets and small arms fire and artillery and things like that.
Yep.
And it's basically digging a hole, basically getting below the ground level and getting out of the way of stuff. And there's pillbox bunkers. And if you've ever watched a World War II movie, you kind of know what that is. It's just a small fortified structure. It's a couple inches of concrete, little box with some holes where you can look out and see what's going on around you.
No, you were a CB. Were you trained in building pillbox bunkers? Did you guys bring in your own cinder blocks, or what happened here?
No. I actually the group I was with was basically loading and offloading construction equipment off and on to beaches.
All right.
So we didn't build a whole lot of stuff. We were just equipment movers.
So when it says we fight, we build, it was more like, well, we'll show up and help you start the truck.
We'll bring the backup. Yeah. No, there were guys that were equipment operators. I was not that guy though.
Gotcha.
Then there's industrial bunkers. Now these are a little bit more intricate. This is you see these a lot. Were being built a lot in Europe during World War II.
Okay.
They're basically manufacturing places that they're designed to they were camouflaged and designed to withstand aerial bombardment. Basically, planes dropping stuff on it. A lot of times they would put camouflage it, like it looked like just regular, ground grass and stuff like that. So that, you wouldn't really be able to spot it from the air.
Right.
And then there's fallout bunkers. And this is kind of what we were talking about when we were doing the podcast, right? So fallout it's designed to protect from mechanical and thermal effects of a nuclear explosion and radioactive fallout after, allowing them to survive for a period of time deemed sufficient to allow them to safely escape. So, we'll talk about that a little bit, but fallout, you can't just, the blast goes off and then, you got to wait out the radiation a little bit, with nukes. So it's a little bit more tricky. And, there aren't very many bunkers that are going to withstand a direct hit from a nuke, but there's some. There's some.
And that's, I mean, I remember them advertising that, but I didn't know how true that would really be. So I was just looking while you were talking. I just pulled up some bunker buster bomb stuff, and I was looking. I was like, I wonder how good they really are.
Right.
And believe it or not, they're saying now again, these are not nukes; these are designed to attack bunkers.
Mm-hmm.
but they said 40 meters through moderate rock.
Right.
That's pretty damn
That's
impressive.
pretty damn deep. Now, I remember they were firing those off. Remember when we were looking for Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan? They had all those caves built, and
Right.
even with the bunker busters, they couldn't get to all of them. Some of them had.
But yeah, you don't know where and
Yeah,
yeah, and you have little tunnels that go off in
yeah.
like I
I
might
mean,
get you here, but
is under an entire mountain.
right.
You probably have a better than not chance of surviving a
Right.
direct hit.
It's like whack-a-mole, right? You gotta
Hmm.
wait till they pop their head and then
Yeah. Now, Switzerland has kind of like a interesting situation. They basically build road tunnels through the mountains there. Switzerland's a very mountainous country,
yeah.
and they basically build road tunnels through the mountains, and those are the fallout. They're designed for fallout shelters as well, so they can be closed off. And they said, tens of thousands of people can fit in these tunnels, all over the country.
It's weird. China and Russia have tons of fallout shelters that they can go to, and like they're massive and ventilation and floors deep, especially around Moscow and
Hmm.
places that they assume would be direct targets kind of thing.
Right.
And I mean deep, deep. I mean, I know we talk about under the Pentagon or under the White House, whatever, but they actually have a lot of citizen ready bunkers. I guess if you plan on pissing people off, you
Hmm.
gotta prepare a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'd think somebody like me, my whole backyard should be a bunker. I mean, I should
You're
probably
pissing
build something
everybody off.
near work, It's
Yeah. Yeah, now I got so let's go through, like, some of the basics that you need for a fallout bunker.
yeah,
So they say 10 time the thickness of any quantity of material capable of cutting gamma ray exposure in half. So it'd be 10 times, these are list of things here. Half inch of lead. So obviously 5 inches of lead. Uh two and a
yeah,
half
that wouldn't
inches of
weigh
concrete.
much at all. Okay.
Yeah. 3.5 inches of packed earth. So that surprises me that it was only 3.5 inches
A
is,
pack
cuts
earth
by
versus the lead.
50%. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's 10 times that, but it's still, it's still pretty light.
Yeah. No, that's kind of crazy, actually.
That's just to cut down on fallout though. That's not going to protect you from
Yeah.
direct hits.
All right.
Now, you
Well,
got the
Kevin, if
shelter.
somebody drops a nuclear bomb on me, though, I mean, really, how prepared can you really be? I mean,
Well,
that's
I mean, I checked it out. There's a map you can go and look at and see who's going to make it and who isn't going to make it in the United States. They can't turn the whole country into rubble. You
can't
know,
they?
they kind of can.
Yeah,
But
that's what I thought.
I'm in a medium level radiation area.
Okay,
So, not going to get bombed, but I'm going to be, in my basement for 2 weeks,
right.
sheltering in place at min. So you want to take a look at that map and see what's going on. If you
All
live in New
right.
York City or Washington D.C., that's it, dude. That's a wrap. You know,
Now party's over.
party's over.
Oh, that's bad. Now you dug deep. You read a book on bunkers, right? And
Yeah, yeah. I did read a book on bunkers, and a lot of them are focused on location. You know what I mean?
okay,
So specifically, they're out of the way. They're in these areas that are gonna, not get a lot of radiation from full scale nuke war.
okay,
Um, and that was kind of the main thing was the location, right? And I saw a lot of people. They had like pictures. They had like it was basically just a regular house built out of poured concrete. Not cinder blocks, but poured
okay,
concrete.
right,
Slabs. And what they do is they pour the walls, the foundation, the walls, and then they just pour a slab with rebar in it, and they pick it up with a crane and just set it on top, you know?
okay,
So, a lot of the ones that I saw were old like munitions factories and
Right.
old like
Well, that's it.
stuff
If
that
the
was
government
repurposed.
already
Yeah.
built this place, why would we, reinvent the wheel? That's the
Hmm.
thing. It's already there.
Right. Right. The trick is like how comfortable do you want to be? That's really what it comes down to. You can get in a concrete box with no windows and sit in the dark and you know pee in a jar for a month, and that's fine. But it doesn't sound like a lot of fun. You're not
Right.
going to be
Right.
living the high life down there.
That's it. I mean, you can be Cloverfield, or you can be. I guess that he's got it a little bit rough. And then there was that movie with Brendan Fraser that
Oh yeah, they're living the high life down there.
they were
What was
living
the
the
name
high
of
life,
it? Yeah.
cocktails, and yeah.
Yep.
Hey, I'll get
Dad
to the
smoking
bottom
a
of it.
pipe.
You keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Christopher Walken was the dad in that. I thought
Oh yeah.
that was a good movie. Um, yeah, so one of the main things you want to think about when you're designing your own bunker, climate control, right? So if it's perfectly sealed, you're just gonna eventually suffocate. You're eventually gonna asphyxiate. So you have to have some air moving through your bunker, but you don't want to be pumping in all the fallout radiation air. So I looked into it. There's a Kearney air pump, which is the basic run of the mill. That's the standard, and
Yeah.
it only has a small filter, and the reason is that uh, the small fine dust particles that are radioactive aren't going to have a lot of effect on it. There it is.
Yeah. So
Blast from
the
the Past is
the
the name of
movie,
the movie.
yeah, Blast from the Past. So sorry. Go on.
Yeah, you should check. I should rewatch that movie.
It was a good movie. It was
Yeah.
entertaining.
Um. Where was
It
that? So
totally threw you. Yeah.
yeah. So you want a basic air pump that's moving air into the thing, running through a filter that's just going to filter out the larger particles.
Right.
And then you know, that's basically it. You're going to have it so that the carrying air pump basically has slats that open up when you turn the fan on, and then slam shut. Once you
Yeah.
turn the fan off, so it's
I mean,
not always
basically a
bringing air in.
catalytic converter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see these types of, pumps all the time in, like, uh, places where they store chemicals.
Okay.
You turn it on and air blows out, but if it's the dead of winter, you don't want that vent
And
open all the time
you
just when you're in
can
there.
you can talk you can look up smoke filters and different things. It depends what you want. I mean, obviously, a nuclear disaster, hopefully there's not going to be, tons of smoke. Hopefully you're not in the middle of a wildfire caused by it or whatever. I mean,
Mhm.
again, you can prepare for what you can prepare for.
Right.
Um, but you do need to get ventilation, and even as much as like a sheet could, stop a lot in front of your vent as far as nuclear particles and things like that.
Right.
Um, you know, eh, but so anyway, FEMA put out a book on actually building underground bunkers and safe rooms. And they talk about ventilation and about how to put the pipe in and, the way it should be structured. But basically they actually give a list, and I'll put a link in the show notes to the book, but they put in, like, if you have one person, you probably need 4-inch pipe and you need two pipes for ventilation. If you have four people, you need 8-inch pipe and three pipes. So that it dramatically, you need some ventilation. And it is something to think about, that you're gonna have to plan for. The FEMA book where I got that list was called Taking Shelter from the Storm. They have a building or installing safe rooms for your home. So
Mhm.
that's, something you might want to check out. I'll put a link, like I said, in the show notes so you guys can, hey, if the government's going to put it together and give it to you for free. However, when you build that shelter, the government's going to think you're crazy and put you on a list. So it's
Right.
kind of an enigma there. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever. Whatever. One of the ones that I was in was, it was basically a big concrete box, and it had
okay.
a metal hatch on the top and with a ladder that goes down. And the only
Kevin, were you in
real
the sewer?
No. Oh, the only real ventilation they had was it was basically a 4-inch pipe like you're talking about that went up and did a gooseneck, so it was
Right.
facing
100%.
down with a screen
Yep.
on it, you know?
Yeah.
And, it did not seem like a fun place that I wanted to hang out, you know, for an extended period of time, but I mean, whatever, maybe you gotta set up a library down there or something, you know?
Exactly. You got to find a way to pass the time. I read a
Mhm,
book a while back called The $50 and Up Underground House Book.
mhm,
And Mike Oler, I think he's passed on since he wrote the book. But anyway, he did a book on building underground. He did underground houses. And I got to say, if you're the do it yourself guy, this book is all day the right thing. Now
mhm,
we'll talk about different ones you can buy and different things you can do, but he builds it. Now, I've seen some people revisit it and try and recreate these. I have not tried to build one of these, although it's in my dream plans. I'm just not there.
mhm.
Um, and people are saying it's more like if you take the corrections that he's noted and said, "Hey, I made a mistake, do this," it's kind of becomes the like $500 underground house. But in
Mhm.
today's world, that ain't bad.
No, it's
That's
not.
that's not bad. Um, anyway, one of the things I wanted to mention that you were talking about is because you were just saying that it's not a comfortable or happy place to be,
Right.
and the uh, the trade-off is, do you want light or do you want protection?
Mhm.
And
Right.
being able, like, everybody's complaint about the underground website he had, or underground house, he had a website or a forum, and everybody's like, yeah, but it's so gloom and doom, and you're just in a cave, and it's
Yeah.
dark, and we hated it, and we needed some kind of daylight getting in there.
Mhm.
I do feel like you could maybe find a way to like recreate sunlight that, do things, but it's not good. You need one of those big flat LED TVs that,
Uh-huh.
look like a window, like, "Oh, I'm looking
Yep.
outside." But, I don't know what the right answer is for that. But the trade-off of how do I not get water in there, yet I get daylight and I get the protection?
Mhm.
And because
Right.
the more exposed you are, the more, rain, and turns out when you dig a hole, you wouldn't believe, but when it rains, that's where the water
That's where
goes,
the water
in the
goes, yeah.
hole. It goes in
Yeah.
the hole. When they make bathtubs, when they wanna get rid of the water, they put a hole in the bottom. That's how holes
Mhm.
work, and that's where water wants to go. So, it's all about sealing that up and closing it, and so anywhere you're gonna get light. Now, I know you're saying, "Well, water doesn't go through glass, Chuck." Well, that's true,
Goes
but
through the walls, though.
then do you have yeah, it doesn't end well. So just something to think about. Anyway, if you are interested in the do it yourself kind of thing, like I said, that, you know, $50 and up book is awesome and awesome ideas. His big thing is like terraces, and he does the kind of gooseneck ventilation like you were talking about.
Mhm.
And but having terraces in front of it, kind of like up to a regular level, and then having the roof come up over it,
Right.
over the terraced area. And believe it or not, one of his big problems was he kept talking about how bears kept trying to come freaking take over his house.
Come
He's
live
like, I'd
inside.
go out and there'd be a bear, like he talks about like three different times he's come home to bears in the book. It was pretty crazy.
Mhm.
But so actually, you guys, we talk about how, I actually spent the night in a bunker one time, and that's the thing, it was actually like an old bear cave
Mhm.
that somebody had converted into a bunker, and it was pretty sketchy. It was in a hillside, and it had been dug out by a bear, and then a guy found it. The bear had moved on. I think usually they like get too big for the hole and they give up on it or whatever.
Mhm.
And then he had dug it out, more, and cleaned out all the crap and the piss and you know. But
Right.
this like had a reasonable, I'd say, like 3 foot by 3 foot entrance, like a circle, a 3 foot diameter circle, and he had, run in just some cots on like a dirt floor, and he'd shored it up with some boards. Basically, his explanation was keeping the dirt and the whatever from, falling on your head. But at no point is that a fun time that you want to hang out and stay there and it's just gloom and doom. But he's like,
Yeah.
but it's secret. And it's, that's the thing. Like I've read some prepper books and that's the people who last are the ones who nobody knows you're there. That's
Mhm.
the whole
Right.
thing. But can't have fires, can't have, all that stuff just gives away. So it's tough. But I don't know. Back to this book. Like what other ideas did they have in yours? In the one you read, what was it called?
It was called Bunker: What It Takes to Survive the Apocalypse. Yeah. So there's a lot of these a lot of them were companies were
Okay.
building these you could buy the package and they would come and set it up. Basically what they would do is excavate a big hole and pour a concrete pad, and then they would bring in a crane and set like these metal rooms and just kind of weld them together, and then build the stairs going up. And you could build whatever you wanted to. The access point, you want to be able to open the door in, you know what I mean? Because
Okay.
if a bunch of shit explodes all around you and you're trying to get out and you got to push the
Right.
door and there's shit in front of it, you're fucked, you
Right.
know? So you want to be able to open the door in, and then you can kind of get yourself out of there if there's something happening. But a lot of people were building like small sheds over the door, so it looked like a tool shed, and you go inside, and then there's a door, down to the bunker.
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, that's one of the things. Like even one of the prepper books. I think it was like there's a series, Days of Noah, and then Days of Elijah. And in the second half, they end up like hiding out in a cave, and there's a big earthquake, and they're good in the cave, but it ends up like blocking the entrance, and they're digging
Mhm.
out, and like big rocks had shifted, and they're like trying to break apart giant rocks. And of course, when you don't know how far the
Right.
rocks go on the outside, is there did a giant meteor hit right there that's
Yeah.
8 feet diameter, or what am I
Right.
chipping through here? And
500 tons of rock between you and the exit. Yeah.
right, whereas it turned out if you went 3 feet to the left, you might have been fine, but you don't know, and
Right.
that could be very overwhelming. So at least having the door open in, at least not being able to, having to break through your own door is not your biggest obstacle. So that's
Right.
probably pretty cool. It sounds smart. One of the things I always hear people talk about is Connex boxes and burying those. But one of the tricks you got to remember is the roof of that and how much dirt weighs are not, because I know you're thinking, well, I've seen ships and they stack those boxes really high, but they
Mhm.
stack them on the frame on the outside, right?
Right.
You have that square rectangle frame, and then frame to frame, they go up high.
Yeah.
But the actual sheet metal roof, dirt weighs a lot, and you got to think about it. But if you
Yeah.
put beams over it, and I mean,
The
it
w
can be built properly.
Yeah, and the walls, same thing. The walls can cave in as well.
A
It's
lot of
it's a
pressure.
it's a matter of time. You can even spend, a couple of years and a couple of 100 grand building these Connex box bunkers, and they last 2 years, and then it's caving in on you.
It does not sound like the life you want to live. So,
Mm-mm.
yeah, sometimes going to the pros is the good answer. But
Yep.
then again, how many times have we seen people like you could get something on AliExpress, and I don't know if it's going to be the,
Well, there's a
or
couple of
Timu or whatever. You
there's a
might be able to
couple
get
of
a
like
bunker delivered.
reputable companies. So there's
Okay.
Atlas Survival Shelters,
Okay.
USA Bunker Company,
All
Hardened
right.
Structures, and Hardened Shelters. That's the three companies there, and they're all reputable. But I mean, you're looking to spend like a minimum of 40 grand for like a really basic thing. That's like a 10 foot by 10 foot room. You're not.
So you're saying I should borrow against my 401k and make this happen?
I would say that unless you have like 400 grand to spend, don't bother. You got to
Okay.
build that shit yourself, man. So
I
one
think
of the
yeah, go ahead. Go
one of
ahead.
the one of the things one of the things that are used for being underground are those concrete boxes they have for like sewage and rainwater, things like that.
Yes.
They build these big square boxes that are concrete, and you just
Yeah.
bury them in the ground.
And I've seen them
They
linked together,
Yeah,
like
that's
they'll
exactly what you
stagger.
do. Yep.
Yeah.
So you could build it that way, and those are fairly inexpensive. You got to dig it, you got to level out the ground and everything, get ready for it, and then have them brought in and set in place. But
Okay.
I don't know. It's tricky to build one yourself that's not going to kill you. You don't want it caving in on you while you're in there.
Maybe read a book.
Yeah,
Maybe
read some books.
watch some YouTube videos. However, this is not the video for
Yeah,
your construction advice.
yeah.
Now,
So
Kevin is actually, you used to be a union carpenter back in the day.
that's
Is
right. And
that
I
true?
built I built concrete, frames for basements and all sorts of stuff, man.
Oh, see, Kevin?
There's tricks. I feel like I could build my own bunker with a couple of friends helping me out and
But your union
a
card
few
has
grand.
expired.
It has expired. I'm no longer a union member. I
Oh,
don't know if all that shit just evaporates out of my
I
brain.
believe it does. You don't pay, you
You
don't
don't pay,
stay.
you don't get to keep your
Yeah.
your knowledge.
Nope.
Um, Now, one of the things though I touched on earlier, I want to talk about is the air filtration, right?
Uh-huh.
So we talked about the fans and the filters, but that doesn't really help you against like poison gas attack. Do you remember in that movie Cloverfield Lane,
Yes.
whatever the name of that movie was with John Goodman? So that one was a gas attack. Remember, it was aliens with poison gas.
Because they know how to get you.
Yeah.
They know how to get you.
So, I mean, he had a system set up where it ran through fish tanks, and if the fish died, you knew to turn the air system off. But the fish didn't die, and they didn't turn the air system off. I don't know, like, if all your fish die and you turn it off, then what? You just you
Hold your
just
breath.
fucked. Yeah,
Hold your
and
breath,
there's
Kevin.
there's so many different types of biological and poison gases
Yeah.
that can be used, that you need a million different types of filters for each
Yeah.
scenario. And you can get a filter that will filter out mustard gas, that'll filter out anthrax, that'll filter out anything. But like each one is its own thing, and each one you know, has to have its own setup. So I mean, there's a lot of carbon filter setups that they work for a lot of stuff. Obviously, if they can make a gas mask for it, they can use that same filter for an air filtration system. But they're not cheap, man.
No.
You're looking at big bucks for anything that's you know,
It's gonna
anything that
last, right. That'll do time and stop stuff. Right.
right.
It's
And
money.
you obviously want to build a bunker. If you're going to invest that much time in it, you want to build, at least 100-year bunker. Not that you're going to be in there 100 years,
I would
but
rather not.
yeah, but you want to be in there 50 years from now, shit goes down, you want to still be able to access it and use it.
Yeah, no, exactly. You want it to last, and that's the thing, is that delicate balance. How do you judge your time, and how do you judge where your money is better spent, right? Like, oh, maybe I should just be buying more long-term food. Maybe I should buy more you know, more first aid gear. Maybe I just need to buy a lot more guns and ammo. Like,
Mhm.
you don't know where the world ends,
Right.
exactly what's going to happen. And that's the thing. That's like really what prepping comes down to is, assessing the world, looking at all the threats that are out there and deciding what's most likely. And sometimes which one of my dollars can be best spent to cover the most disasters, right?
Mhm.
Or the best long term, and you just slowly get better and better, and that's all we do. That's education, that's making money. You just assess, like, hey, where can I put my effort to get me the most of what I want out of life? And maybe that's just spending time with your family and not doing things. Maybe we don't have a TV or the internet or video games or whatever, or a new car, but I get to hang out with my family every day, and maybe that's
Mhm.
what's important. I'm just saying, there's
Ah,
options out there, Kevin. Or maybe you don't want to be around your family, and maybe you're like, I'd rather just be at work and
mhm.
whatever
Yeah.
and get away
Yep.
from.
I feel that energy.
I don't know. You gotta pick and choose what's right for you.
No, that's a joke. But I mean, the the other option that we haven't talked about is building a safe room. Now you
Yes.
can do that a lot cheaper than building a bunker.
Now
You
they
can
do
set
call
that up
those
in
a
your
coffin
basement.
sometimes.
Yep. Yep. That could be true. Um, but if you think about it and you walk around your house, um, just shooting guns off,
I love shooting guns off
it'll go
around my
it'll go
house.
right through all your walls. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
most of them I would
You
have to
always see
say.
those movies and stuff where the guy shoots out the window and then ducks behind the wall. Those bullets are gonna go right through that wall. It's
Right.
not gonna stop it.
Actually, behind me, this isn't a green screen. This is foot thick right
Mhm.
here.
Yeah,
So
you might be safe
I
then.
might be all right, but I got a lot of windows. The wife's like, we need more light. We need more light. So there's
Uh-huh.
more windows that I'd like to, but go on.
Yeah. But I mean, building a safe room is fairly easy, you know? Your walls right now are probably constructed with, 2x6s, maybe plywood and some drywall. You could take an X-Acto knife and cut a hole and kick through the wall of your house if you wanted to break into your
I
own
know
house.
people have these like
Battery powered
fortress doors.
sawzall cut right
Right.
through.
People have
Yep.
these fortress doors, and I'm like, they're just going to go to the wall right next to it. Like it's
Hmm.
nothing. But
Right.
yeah,
Exactly. So, building your safe room, you want to have some sort of solid barrier. You
yeah,
want to pour some concrete, even cinder blocks or something. When they say concealment and cover, concealment means hiding. Somebody breaks in your house and you hide in a closet. It's not gonna protect you.
yeah,
Um, but cover, that's different. Something that you can get behind. Something that's going to stop a bullet, something that's going to stop somebody trying to kick their way in.
right.
And you can go from basic to all the way top of the line air filtration systems, uh dedicated landlines so you can call the police and whatever, everything all the way from a little 4 foot by 4 foot cement block barrier to you know all the way in poured concrete and like I said, air filtration systems, food, water storage, all that sort of stuff. And building a small safe room in your house is probably a good idea. But when it comes to safe rooms and bunkers, you want more than one exit. You know what I mean? You don't want to
Yeah,
be the asshole that's, guess I'm just here for the rest of my life. You don't want to be the one that's
right.
stuck trapped inside with a boulder laying in front of your door.
Exactly. One of the things, there's that movie, Walking Tall, I think, with The Rock. And I don't know, he's the sheriff in the casino, and I don't know, I think it's called Walking Tall. I don't know what it's called.
Hmm.
But anyway, they have the trailer and they come back to get him. And he has, he's got the 4x4 and he's the tough guy, like goes in to beat up people. I don't know.
Hmm.
Anyway, he has the trailer and it has like a little trap door to get underneath. And
Right.
that's maybe more valuable, being able to have an escape
Hmm.
than having the safe thing. I'm just
Right.
saying, just give yourself options. I mean, I'd prefer both, right? I'd like being able to go to a room where I can be protected from somebody trying to get in, but I'd also like the way out of there.
Right.
Um, Especially if you're involved in the new construction of a house, you can create these hatches and that kind of thing. Now, the cool thing about me living in the South, we have a lot of houses have a like a crawl space underneath. And
Hmm.
people don't usually have basements in the South. Big thing, I think there's a lot of sand and termites, and I don't know. People don't go for that kind of thing here. I don't know what the deal is. Why we don't have basements, water table, who knows? Anyway, but you may want to think about some kind of escape hatch as like a crucial thing to your,
Hmm.
you need two exits. And the thing is, it can't be obvious the
Right.
second exit. Because if it's a safe room and they're like, oh, there's another door right over there, I'll just cover this door and that
Right.
door.
Exactly.
Or, whatever. So you got to plan, right? You got to think a little bit outside the box, but
Hmm.
that's what's right.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the guys mentioned in here about the a lot of the houses are built with the foam board. They
Yeah.
use plywood around the corners of the house, maybe around the door and window, but a lot of it is just foam board. And honestly, you could cut through the siding and the foam board with an X-Acto knife and cut through the drywall, and you're inside. It's not like it's not like I don't know. A lot of these houses just don't seem safe to me as far
No.
as protecting yourself from
No,
other
and
people.
that's what you think. You're like, "Oh, well, my house is for protection."
Mhm.
Well, is it?
Is
Or
it?
is it just built to keep the rain out and the air conditioning in? I mean,
Mhm.
that's really more the goal.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it maybe not what the goal should be, but that's where it ends up, right?
Right.
So,
Right. And you can get a nice cheap house that's built like shit.
I don't know.
There's
It's
plenty of people
funny.
that'll
I
do that
looked
for you.
exactly. I looked on the internet and there was a lot of books out there as far as underground bunkers and building. I saw one, it was like 43 bucks. It was like underground bunker engineering and I'm like, "Ooh, that looks awesome." They had no pictures. It was just like a great cover.
Mhm.
So I have no idea. It could be total crap. And I wasn't
Yeah.
going to buy like 10, $50 books.
Yeah.
Um
But
I
if you
do
go
know, yeah,
if
if
you
you're
go on
do it
Amazon,
yourself
you
guy.
can find like $10 books too, you know?
Yeah, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube, but I will say that underground house guy, he did a pretty good job if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you're
Mhm.
like, "I'm not spending 300 grand," then don't. It's okay.
Yeah.
But you gotta find what works for you in your world, and again, it's all the balance of the perfect preps, right? It's a balance of what's right and what's not. You can email us with questions, concerns, show ideas at preppingbadass@gmail.com. I'll put a link to the new Facebook group in the show notes so you guys can, move over and check out that. Otherwise, I would say stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.